Hey everyone, thanks for being here. Per usual, we'll wait for a couple people to get in on Zoom. So just give us a few minutes. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. It's our fifth general body meeting of the semester. We're getting towards the end of this semester. I appreciate you all being here this semester and sticking with us. And let's get to it. Okay, so again, if you haven't heard it before, we have an exclusive partnership with Testmasters, a $400 discount for their in-person course, $400 for their live online course, which is like the Zoom courses, and $200 for the fully online asynchronous course. I have the form pinned on Facebook and also in GroupMe now, so fill that out if you're interested. Especially I know they have a summer course coming up, so make sure that you fill that out now so that you can get on that list and I can get you in there so you can sign up in time. And also we have this coming up. It's our most active member scholarship. So we give that out each semester to our most active member. It's part of our contract with them, which is a really great thing that they do for us. So get your points in and that way you can get that scholarship.
Hi everyone, so I'll be going over the requirements on how to be considered an active member for the semester. As you know, directors should earn at least 60 points and members should earn at least 40 points. In addition to the points, you must attend at least 3 GBMs. If you are graduating this semester, graduation cards are included in your membership, so please get in touch with me by Friday. I will be passing out the graduation cards at the end of the semester banquet. If you have any questions, please contact me on GroupMe or through email. And finally, your membership includes so many other benefits such as networking skills, law school prep, involvement opportunities, and more.
So in reference to those points and how you can get them for your active membership, general body meetings like this one are 5 points, in-person director events are 4 points, Zoom director events 2 points, special events are 5 points. Fundraising events sometimes vary, so keep the sorry, it's something in my eye. Keep something open for that. And then if you want to keep track of your points, which please you do, the point spreadsheets found on the Facebook, it should be pinned in the group me. I know there are a couple of you who had some issues with points being GBMs. Everything should be updated as of today, except for the fundraiser. So please make sure that the points that you have in your records match the points that I have. You can email me or text me if you have any questions. In addition to making sure that you are keeping track of everything, and making sure that you have your active membership, our Google Calendar has all of our events, our meetings, our everything to make sure that you can know when those are. So that way you can get your points and make sure that you become an active member. So please, if you haven't already, please go over to your Google Calendar. In the bottom left-hand corner, there will be a little thing that says other calendars with a plus sign. And then please add of our stuff. It gets updated every month.
Our next GBM is going to be Wednesday, April 3rd, and it's going to be elections. Peyton's going to go more into depth about that, but it's super exciting. So you'll hear more about that. And then after that, we just have one GBM left. So make sure you're doing your minimum of 3 GBMs to meet your point requirement and to be an active member. And as always, our social media is here. Follow us. This is where you get all the information about all of our events, especially it's so easy to get points if you are paying attention to the calendar. I know as the semester comes to an end, some people panic that they're not going to get their points. Like, I promise, if you put your mind to it, you can. So to stay up to date on everything, here's our social media. Okay, and for our super exciting announcement, so we have elections coming up at our next GBM. It's Wednesday, April 3rd, so mark your calendars. And this GBM is only open to members that pay dues. Obviously, active member points aren't due just yet. So in terms of like counting active membership, that means if you paid dues this semester, you can be there. So we will be checking that. We're kind of vetting it like as people come in, and like we will have to kick you out. It'd be like if you come in and you haven't paid dues. So please, just only members that have paid dues can come and vote. And in terms of nominations and platforms, any active member that is able to serve for the whole full school year in person in Gainesville is eligible to apply for president, vice president, treasurer, or secretary. We open it to directors first. They're the ones that have had leadership roles in this club before, know what it takes to be a leader in this club, and are like kind of the people that we trust to take it to the next level as an executive board member. However, if no director has stated their intention to run for a position by April 1st, when the application closes, then we open up nominations to any general active members. So basically the application will be open from tonight until April 1st at 11:59 p.m. If no director has stated that they're running for any one of those positions, like if there's no one running for secretary, then an active member can run and send in their application, and we will inform like everyone in the group me via email who is putting that they're running. So that's how you will be informed. And campaigning is limited to word of mouth and a campaign platform. So you're sending that in via email to ufprelegal@gmail.com by Monday, April 1st at 11:59 p.m. with the following information. So you'll just kind of, I have an example of what a platform looks like in the next 2 slides. So I can just show you what it looks like broken down. But you just want to put your name, your headshot, the position you're applying for, your year in school, your major or minor, and just your campaign platform. This can kind of be anything about why you're interested in being on the executive board, any experience you have in leadership, any ideas you have for improving PLHS or that like specific position. So include that 500 words maximum. So send that in by April 1st to our email, and then I will be putting that together and sending it out to the whole organization through our listserv that we have, and everyone who attends these meetings should be on the listserv. If you have not received the emails, contact Alyssa, and she usually is like, make sure that you guys receive those emails by sending out the minutes. So tonight, when she sends out the minutes, and like the attendance, you can click if you have been receiving the minutes or not. And so, yeah, that's it for this slide. And then on actual elections on April 3rd, candidates can give speeches. It's a 5-minute speech followed by a Q&A session during the GBM where anyone can ask a question, open to all members, like any directors, like anyone can ask them a question. No PowerPoints or virtual handouts are permitted. It's just an oral speech. And then voting, we send out Google Forms. So that's how we do voting. Oh,
No, not yet.
sorry, can you mute yourself? Thank you. So again, only active members can vote, those people who pay dues, and the order of the election will be president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And for this election, slating is allowed. So for example, you could run for president, and if you did not get elected as president, you could then run for like treasurer. So, but in order to do that, you do have to originally, when you apply, say, I'm running for both president and treasurer, like indicate that on your original platform. So you have to state this in your original platform, and it has to be done like top down for slating. So we're doing the order president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, voting on those, tallying, and announcing that, and then going on to the next position. And yes, I think that's it for that. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to the email before you apply. This is an example of a platform that's just like the one I submitted last year for president. It just has like the position, name, year, major, the platform, the headshot. So that's just kind of what it looks like when you send it in on the email. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, they close on April 1st. We're super excited for the future of PLHS to apply. So please apply if you're interested. We're really excited. And yeah, thank you all so much. Okay, we'll get into director announcements. So community service, you can go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan, and I'm really excited for our upcoming event with Peaceful Paths. This is an organization that I have volunteered a lot with in the past and have a really close connection to, so it's really meaningful to me and to our community. It's the domestic violence and abuse shelter here in Gainesville, and they help a variety of people, offer shelter, support, anything they might need, food, supplies, anything like that. And we will be helping break down their Power of the Purse event, which is an auction of purses at the Gainesville Women's Club this Saturday. And I already sent out a sign up for that with instructions. And if you're still looking to volunteer, we would really appreciate it. If there are still more spots, you can go ahead and click that link. I'll go ahead and send it again after the meeting. So you can go ahead and look for that in the GroupMe.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan, and I'm your other community service director. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who came to the blanket making event last month. We were able to donate several blankets directly to people that are homeless in the Gainesville community, and that was really special to see. So thank you all for showing out. Outside of the Power of the Purse event, we're going to have another military missions card making event. It's going to be on March 29th at 1 p.m. in Plaza of the Americas. This is a nonprofit that provides support to delayed troops in different regions of the United States or across the globe. So we're going to be writing nice messages for them, and then we're going to be mailing them out. So it's a real great way not only to, touch the Gainesville community with the Power of the Purse event, but to have some broader impact and touch a lot of other people as well, some people serving our country. So make sure you can come to that event or try to, and reach out to us with any questions.
Awesome. Diversity.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our disability awareness event. We had a lot of fun making flowers. We hope you guys did too. Our next event will be Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. and there will be a location change. We'll actually be doing it at Library West, and we'll be sending the exact location for the room number into the group me later after this meeting. And then for the month of April, we are planning on focusing on immigration and environmental inequalities. And one of the dates we're tentatively working on is April 5th. So there'll be more information on that soon. Fundraising.
Hey guys, thank you to everyone who came to our Opus fundraiser today. Later this month on March 27th, we're going to be having a Bole fundraiser, and that fundraiser is going to be all day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we hope to see you there. And then early next month, we're going to be having a Blaze fundraiser. It's going to be on April 10th from 5 to 9 p.m. And we'll send out more information about that as we get closer to next month.
Hey guys, for our other event in April, we're going to be doing another Chipotle fundraiser. That's going to be at their university location. It's going to be on Sunday, April 7th from 5 to 9 p.m. We'll send out some reminders when we get closer to it.
Thank you. Internal Affairs.
Hi guys, our next event is going to be on March 26th, next Tuesday at 4 p.m. We're going to be doing an escape room. You don't need to sign up beforehand because the guy I was coordinating with is very flexible. So you can just show up and you'll be included.
Hey guys, and then our other event is going to be on the 28th. It's a murder mystery. It was a lot of fun last year. We'll have scripts. We need kind of enough people to come so that we can fully experience the full hurrah of the murder mysteries. So come out, it's at 6, the 28th. It's at the Rights Union. So I'm excited.
Intramurals.
Hey guys, how's it going? This Sunday we will be holding stadium runs at 1 o'clock. Been excited for this event for a while, so hopefully the weather will hold through. And then towards the later part of next week, we will be holding a yoga pod event. Should be a lot of fun. I'm actually really excited for this event. Yoga pod is a great way to relieve some of that stress from midterms and then upcoming finals, so I'm excited.
Law related.
Hello, everyone. As you may have heard, unfortunately, we did have to cancel our FSU Law Tour this Friday. However, FSU Law didn't take it to heart. They still love PLHS. And we actually organized a Zoom event this Friday at 4 p.m. with their law admissions. So if anyone still wanted to hear about FSU, see what they have to offer, I highly suggest joining. It's going to be very informative and a good experience. And now I'm going to pass it to Gabby, my co-director Gabby, so she could talk about our April events.
Hello, everyone. To kick off April, on April 1st, we have a info session, Q&A Zoom session with Emory Law, which is very exciting. And I think it's a great way to learn more about their law school. So if you have any questions, please reach out to either Anthony or myself. Mentor-mentee.
Hi, everyone. So we do have a meeting tomorrow on the main PLHS Zoom from 6:30 to 7:30, and we'll be doing some games of pre-law Jeopardy. So make sure to come to that if you can.
Mock trial.
Hi everyone, our competition is this weekend, so that's very exciting for our competitive team.
We're going to be doing it at the law school Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 4, and we're looking to try to make it a opportunity where everyone can watch. We're in the process of confirming that, so we'll let you know.
PR.
Hi, we really have no updates, just follow the Instagram and please DM us photos or anything from events. And yeah, just DM us with any questions.
Special events.
Hi, not much from us. We're working on planning the spring banquet sometime in mid to late April, so keep an eye out for more info on that.
Okay, everybody, I'm very excited to announce our guest speaker for tonight, Jared Scotto. He works at Whites and Luxembourg in New York City, where he practices personal injury and malpractice, trafficking, and abuse. Scotto was introduced to civil litigation by working as a trial attorney for Allstate Insurance.
While being grateful for the opportunity, it made him realize he didn't want to be a defense attorney. He wanted to help regular people. Before working at Whites and Luxembourg, Scotto worked as an associate attorney at a firm specializing in plaintiffs' personal injury cases and criminal defense. He handled hundreds of personal injury cases and was the head of the firm's criminal defense practice. His cases involved everything from automobile accidents to premises liability and product liability to civil rights cases. In addition to recovering millions of dollars for his clients, Scotto earned a reputation as an excellent litigator as both a trial lawyer and appellate counsel. He also served as an assistant district attorney for the Queens County District Attorney's Office in Queens, New York. During his 5 years at the DA's office, Scotto served as lead counsel in a number of jury trials and handled hundreds of criminal cases, both felonies and misdemeanors. His passion was prosecuting illegal firearms trafficking and possession. And Jared, are you here with us tonight? I am so excited. I believe he's on our Zoom already.
Hi, Sydney. Sorry about that. It took me a second to get the to unmute myself.
No worries. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Gabby, for recommending me for this. I'm always happy to help out. How many people do you guys have on here?
Right now, there are 69 people.
Oh, good for you guys. How many people in the organization?
Currently active, Alyssa, do you know that number, or Peyton?
Almost 200.
Wow. That's exactly what the world needs, another 200 lawyers. So I thank you very much for the introduction. A lot of that stuff is on my firm bio, and there's some other information out there. I graduated from law school in 2013. I had a bit of a gap in between undergrad and law school. I worked in a family restaurant business in New York City, did that for several years, and decided, you know, that was no longer for me. Despite that kind of always being what I was going to do. It's my whole life. It's what my dad did, and you know, it's kind of what I thought I would do as an adult. But it really wasn't for me. So where I'm at now is, after going to law school, I kind of realized in school that I wanted to be a trial lawyer. At the time when I graduated, the job market was difficult. You know, it was right after the housing crisis in 2008 is when I applied for law school, and then went. I graduated from a small school in New York called Toro Law. It was very competitive at the time. You know, looking back, given my LSAT scores and undergrad grades, I could have gone to a lot of other schools if I had applied later or earlier. But something I was explaining to Sydney the other day when we talked briefly was circumstances out of your control may have a big impact on where you guys go to school and what you guys ultimately do. And that impacted me in not just my legal education, but in my early employment in a big way. And so realizing in school that I wanted to be a prosecutor, because that was kind of the best way to get good trial experience. And I wasn't really interested in being a defense lawyer, which some people are. And I kind of gravitated a little more to the other side of the aisle. So I had to work every connection that I had in order to get a job at this DA's office. They hired a class of 22, and every single person that got hired there had some type of political juice to get into that office. That's just the way things were. It's better now. I think the hiring in those offices, especially in New York City, is more merit-based than it was, which I applaud. But, you know, that being said, I jumped into the job. I did it. I liked it a lot. It was a great fundamental experience. You know, it's one of the few places you're going to go where the first day that you're there, they're going to leave you in court with another person who's not admitted to the bar. And you're going to get to stand up on every case that's there. You're going to have to make decisions. You're going to be supervising your friend who's also not admitted to practice. And then when the judge asks you a question, guess what? You have to answer it. And if you don't have the answer, you have to figure out what the answer is. And you have to decide, are you going to make it up? Are you going to find that information? And if you are going to find that information, how are you going to find it? So I liked being in that situation where I had to think on my feet. Again, I was a little bit older than a lot of the people I was working with. And I kind of appreciated the responsibility. And, you know, as long as we just made it a priority above everything else, above convicting somebody, above making a judge happy, above making a complaining witness happy, as long as we went to work every day and we did the right thing, okay? Regardless of what the professional rules were, you knew them, you understood them, you knew the law, you always do the right thing, and you never had a problem. Never got in trouble. Got yelled at by judges a few times, but that's just part of the job. And it was important to kind of keep that in the forefront. And I think it's really important. A lot of people get intimidated about going to law school and becoming a lawyer. I think if you're in this position and you're part of the Pre-Law Honor Society, you're at least aware that there are some challenges ahead. Sydney and I kind of talked about that the other day. You know, what are you expecting as an undergrad, as a first-year law student? What are you expecting as things go on? What are you going to rely on? Well, you know, you're obviously going to rely on your academic prowess, right? What you learned as an undergrad, how you study, what you do. But what's going to make the difference going forward is what you have inside, what you have in your heart as well as your head, because that's going to guide you with how you handle your clients. That's going to guide you with how you express the law to the court. That's going to guide you on how you give advice and suggestions to the people that you work for. When you start your first jobs or internships in law school, Gabby Goldberg and I worked together for more than a summer. And right from the beginning, I was asking her to make decisions, go look into certain things, figure out what it is, and come back and present that to me so that we can use it. There are people who, believe it or not, do those things and then don't give you a straight answer about what they find. And that is it's just terrible. So think about who you are, and always rely on them, because it will never, ever, ever steer you wrong. That's been a guiding principle in my career. I'm currently a plaintiff's lawyer, which I think some people have certain opinions about plaintiff's lawyers and what we do. You know, certainly we're out there chasing ambulances. Whenever we're not, you know, lying to somebody, that's what people think, but that's really not the case. Let me tell you a little bit about my practice, and kind of what we do. And I think you'll understand how what I said before about always doing the right thing kind of dovetails into what I do every day. I started here at White's in 21. I was hired to be an associate handling Child Victims Act cases. New York State has, like some other states do, not many others, but some, they opened a look back window. All right. Does everybody here know what a statute of limitations is? Kind of look, nod. Anybody not know what a statute of limitations is? Nobody else will be able to see. Just, I'll give you a little explanation. Okay. Statute of limitations is a legal principle wherein a certain crime has to be prosecuted within a certain period of time, or civil actions have to be brought within a certain period of time. And they vary. For certain actions in New York State, the statute of limitations may be a year. For certain other civil actions, it may be 3 years. For certain others, it may be 6 years. Okay? So in New York State, like many other states, if a child is sexually abused by a person, and that's done in connection to an institution, whether it's a religious institution, a school, an after-school program, anything like that, the child has to sue for that abuse within 3 years of reaching the age of majority, which in New York State is 18. So if someone was sexually abused back in the 1960s at the age of 10, they had until 3 years after they turned 18, so their 21st birthday, in order to bring the suit. So nobody sued for this kind of stuff back then. the world has kind of been learning about sexual abuse of children and the effects that that has on folks for their entire lives over the last, I would say, 25 years or so, as a lot of scandals have broken and the information has really come out. And what these experts have learned is people who are abused as children don't often come to terms with it until they're 55 years old. So New York State, based on the guidance of certain lobbyists that I work with and other lawyers work with, petitioned the legislature to open up what's called a look-back window, where they suspended that statute of limitations for a period of time so that anybody who was sexually abused can go ahead and file a lawsuit against an individual person or an institution that they believe to be responsible for that abuse. That window opened in August of 2019, and it closed because of a toll due to COVID in August of 2021. And Gabby, you worked with us in the summer of 22?
Yes.
Okay. So by the time you got to the office, we kind of threw you right in there. The cases were humming. They were up and running. They were moved. We had about 400 to start. And it was me, associates, 2 partners, and we had a supervisor that was kind of floating around working at one of our offices down in Philly. And in the let's see, my son Jake was born in April of 22. Right before I went out on family leave, they asked me if I wanted to take over as a supervisor of this litigation unit. And I said, sure. You know, I didn't really know what that entailed, but you know, I said, okay. And it's been a fantastic choice. Working with lawyers and helping other lawyers work through issues and cases is a tremendously rewarding thing. But you know, the problems that people come into, and I'll give you an example in a second, something that cropped up yesterday. You have to have something that guides you. And you know, when I sit down and I look at a problem, whether it's something that somebody else did, you know, one time we had to fire a paralegal who was dishonest, not just with us here in the office, but backdated something and then sent it to a defense attorney. And we had to go and untangle all that. And it wasn't an issue. It shouldn't have been done. There was no need for it. But you know, we had to deal with that in a way that showed there was a mistake, we're responsible for it, and we fixed it. Then, you know, so these ethical issues really do come up. And a lot of times you'll be stuck looking at something maybe that another lawyer does, and you got to decide, is this person just aggressive, or are they doing something that's substantially worse? And you know, the most important thing is to always have that reputation as somebody who does the right thing and somebody that people can trust. I ran into a situation when I was a prosecutor. Obviously, you guys are aware of issues surrounding police officers, right? Police officers, there's hundreds of thousands of them in the country. The overwhelming majority of them, I think, do the right thing all the time. But, you know, there are, in those hundreds of thousands, a lot of people that do some very, very bad stuff. And they have the power, because of their position as police officers, to really, well, you know, call it what it is. They have the power to end somebody's life. They have the power to ruin somebody's life. And one of the things that you have to be aware of as a prosecutor, when you're going to put a witness under oath, when that witness is going to raise their right hand and promise to tell the truth, and they're going to do that at either a hearing or a trial or in a grand jury, any baggage that witness has to be disclosed to the defense attorney. Okay, that's an obligation that comes to the states through a Supreme Court called Brady v. Maryland. And you'll learn about that probably your first semester of law school, and then learn about it again in some different classes. And I had a case that was coming up for trial, so we were sent out to the trial judge. And before trial, I started poking around through the federal database of cases. It's called PACER. I don't know what it stands for, but it's PACER. And I start poking around PACER to find out if there's any information out there about my cops that are testifying. And this wasn't the normal practice at the Queens DA's office at the time. And I find out that one of the cops that I have to put on, this is a serious case, it's a gun case. People got into a fight outside of a big housing project in Astoria, Queens. And some police officers heard these people get into a fight. And one guy said, yo, I'll be right back. Runs into the housing project, goes up inside, comes back out. The cops follow him. They intercept him in a staircase. And this is all on video. And they try to stop him, to search him. He won't let them search him. They get into a physical altercation and they recover a gun from the pants pocket of his shorts. So this is a serious case. This guy's looking at 3.5 years in jail. We're not going to talk about what could have happened, but you know, in New York City, it's not legal to possess a gun unless you have a license. And this guy did not have a license. And he had a loaded gun in his pocket. But the police officer that's going to testify about all of these observations had a laundry list of complaints against him. And I found out about that the morning that I was going up to try this case. We would have had a conversation with the judge. We would have then done jury selection, which would have taken a day or two. And then I would have had to put this officer on the stand. And now I could have withheld that information. I didn't have to disclose that. I had no obligation at the time. Okay. But we went up there and the judge looked at me. It's a judge that I knew. I had tried cases in front of him before with substantial legal and ethical issues. And Barry looked at me and he said, Jared, what do you know about your detective in this case? And I said, I know this guy's got some problems. And he laughed and he said, when did you find out? I said, this morning. He said, how? And I told him what I just told you guys. And he said, all right. He goes, because we had a case with him a couple of months ago, and I know that your office has had to make some substantial concessions with regards to this guy because he's been sued so many times for doing all kinds of stuff. There was nothing set up in the office for other prosecutors to know about what this guy had done. Another attorney that I had worked with for years had done a ton of work with this guy, but we each had 200 cases, so I wouldn't be talking to him about what he did on one trial case. And the judge gave me every benefit of the doubt because of my reputation and having worked with him in the past. And that's something that could have been a real serious problem. And then at that point, I just said, here's what I know. We adjourned the case. It didn't get tried that day. It was adjourned for several weeks, got sent to another judge. We explained to that judge everything that was going on. The judge said, you give me everything that you have. I will take a look at it and see what is discoverable, what's relevant, what isn't. And I will then tell you what you have to turn over to the defense attorney. And I said, great. Did I care that my trial was getting adjourned? Absolutely. But there's two lessons there. One, in the legal profession, you're going to have to make a lot of decisions. Okay, you're going to have to make a lot of decisions about what evidence is appropriate to disclose to an adversary, what evidence is appropriate to show to a jury. A judge will give you an instruction during a trial about what you should or shouldn't say. And then you're going to make a decision at some point about how close you can get to that line if you think it benefits your case or your client. And it's always best to have a layer of review of what you're doing in order to cover your own ass, and have somebody else make a decision. So when Judge Lopez, who was the second judge who worked at that, said, you know what, let me make the decision, let me decide what's right, what's relevant, I said, great, because I didn't have to make a choice. The other judge was going to leave it up to me. No way. That's too big of an issue. Let another judge make a decision. The defendant looked at it. His lawyer looked at it. Nothing was hidden. That guy walked into court the day that we were supposed to pick a jury, took a plea, and walked into jail. Because despite all of these issues, he knew that we could still prove our case. I'm not proud of the fact that he went to jail. That's just a very sad fact of that set of circumstances. I was never happy about the days that anybody got convicted. I tried a lot of cases. I took a lot of pleas. I worked on a lot of bad stuff. But I was never happy about any of those. You know, those were always the days that I would just kind of go home and, you know, sit by myself. That wasn't to celebrate, or, you know, that was not a day at the bar with my friends. You know, we would party more when we lost than when we won, just, I guess, kind of on principle. So let me get back to my practice now, and then I want to open it up so you guys have a chance to ask questions. We have these crazy cases where people were sexually abused in all different kinds of circumstances. Some of them are 70 years old. The cases, not the clients. We have one client that was abused by a teacher working in the New York City Department of Education in 1948. Okay? That's before the Cold War even really got started. It's 2.5 years after World War II ended. Okay? You know, most of your parents probably weren't even born, you know, at that time. Some of your grandparents might not have even been born. That's a long time ago. How do you put that case together, and how do you figure out what's what, and you know, move that forward? Some circumstances, you don't have much more than your client. What your client says, documents get destroyed, people die, memories fade. You know, so we put these cases together, and the valuable ones are worth millions of dollars. But you know, it requires you to be very straight with your clients. You know, Gabby, how many cases did you work on where we were able to do some investigation, do some digging, and find something great? And then how many did we do the same work and we just uncovered nothing?
Honestly, there were so many. I think I remember about like 50% of the cases that at least like I worked on with you guys. Like half the time we would find something like so little that meant so much, and then half the time we weren't able to find anything. But the little things that we found were really important.
Yeah, you know, so you dig and you look and you do what you can. And you don't stop until, you know, it's time to stop. So we have all these crazy cases. I also work on cases with involving catastrophic injuries and wrongful death. Gabby helped me on a case that's still going that we just blew up in a big way a couple of weeks ago through a deposition. The client was working on a crane in New York City. They were putting up a high-rise luxury condo building in Tribeca. And the crane was on site in order to put big giant pieces of HVAC equipment on the roof of the building. And while they were putting the crane was so big it needed to be assembled at the job site. They needed another crane to assemble that crane. And our client was a rigger working with another rigger in conjunction with a crane operator. Our client was there to just put cables on these giant counterweights. And they made some terrible mistakes. The weather was really bad. There was a miscommunication between the signal man and the crane operator, and the crane operator raised the boom too soon, and it caught a 7.5 ton counterweight, which came cascading down and crushed my client. And you have to understand something about New York City. You walk around Manhattan and you see all these giant buildings. You have to understand the value of things here. You know, the building that they were building had, you know, $2 million 1-bedroom apartments in it. There's tremendous money at issue. There's two of the defendants each have $25 million insurance policies. One of the defendants, the employer of the crane operator, has limitless coverage. Okay. So they know the case is valuable, but what does a defendant do? They say, well, we can't really fight liability. It's not this guy's fault that he was crushed by this giant piece of crane. and that's the law. So how are we going to attack this case? How are we going to make those damages lower? And they spend years picking at this guy's relationship with his children, picking at his relationship with his wife, making an issue out of the fact that he had a baby with another woman and his wife had a baby with another man, despite the fact that they've been separated for 8 years. And picking and picking and picking. And I'm sitting there in court one day. We're down at New York Supreme Court at 60 Center Street. We're 3 doors down from where Donald Trump was on trial in front of Judge Engoron. And there's all this, you know, it's crazy outside. You can't go outside and talk to anybody because there's just too much commotion. And the defense attorneys were a bunch of old white folks that have been doing this for decades, just sitting there talking about this family and how they're going to pick apart their relationships and how all this is going to be perceived. And I turned around and I looked at them and I said, I can't wait to try this case. And they said, why? I said, because all I'm going to do is let the jury just sit there and watch you pass judgment on a family that you can't relate to. And I'm going to let you argue yourselves into getting me a $25 million verdict based on the fact that you're all a bunch of assholes. And these are people I work well with, by the way. And they said, you know, one of the women that was there, she's, I don't know, she's in her 60s. She was a prosecutor in Manhattan 100 years ago. And she looked at one of the defense lawyers and she said, you know, he's right. He's right. We've been sitting here trying to make, you know, trying to knock down this family based on their relationships and what we know, what we don't understand. And if he starts pointing that out, or if we start going after them for that, it's not going to look very good. No. So that kind of covers the economic damages of it. It put that piece in check. But the reality of the situation and the severity of what we do is after this person was hit with this very heavy object, he didn't die right away. He lived. The amount of time that he survived before passing away and what happened, his circumstances and what he emoted and expressed and how he looked and moved and sounds he made, all of that goes towards a very important component of what we do, and that's called conscious pain and suffering. Was he just totally blacked out? Did he have 8-ball hemorrhages in both eyes? Was he totally in shock? Or was he able to perceive and understand what was going on? And did he have some perceptible fear that he was going to die? And we had been trying to track down his brother who worked on this crane with him. He got our client the job, and we knew that he was there, but we didn't know what he saw. So we kind of had the economic damages in this case under control by controlling the family situation and how that's going to be perceived. But we needed this conscious pain and suffering. So we had to fight like crazy. We had to subpoena this guy. He lived in New Jersey. We had to get a court in New Jersey to issue a subpoena to compel him to appear for a deposition. And we didn't know if he was going to show up. So we have the deposition set up on Zoom like this. 15 minutes after it's supposed to start, me and the attorneys are all sitting there looking at each other like we're all looking at each other right now. People are cracking jokes and, making fun. What a family this is that this guy doesn't show up. I get an email from him saying, I'm ready to appear. And we had been saying for weeks that this guy wasn't going to show up. He showed up. And this is a 40-year-old man with a big beard, big burly guy, construction worker, showed up and sat there on Zoom and cried his eyes out about how he cradled his brother as he died and how he had to prevent him from drowning in his own blood in the gutter, and how his boss, who the crane company said, well, we don't know who was there. We don't know, who did what. Okay, so we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And he testified that his boss was not just there, but he was so close to that person as he died that he took off his belt and used it on him as a tourniquet. So here's a company that's been trying to weasel their way out of liability and trying to tell me for years, this case has been going on for 5 years, it'll be 5 years, April 13th, that they have no responsibility and they shouldn't pay this person who went to work that night and was killed due to somebody else's negligence, that they shouldn't pay for what he suffered. And we were able to, because we were tenacious and we kept pushing and pushing and pushing, we got this person to testify. And we took a case that was worth, I don't know, probably in the high 7 figures. And we pushed this well into an 8-figure settlement. And we know and understand what the value of these things are. And that's why, as emotional as it is and difficult as it is to hear and listen to what I just said, you have to know and understand what questions you have to ask to pull this information out of people. So I think kind of all my experience comes together into that. I also try cases, so I have some if you guys want to ask me questions about that. Anyway, looks like we got about 10 minutes left and I don't want to keep you guys. So if anybody has any questions.
I
can
just wanted
start with, oh, no, Gabby, go.
Sorry. I just wanted to thank you again for coming on. Working for you for the years that I did was the most valuable experience I think I could have gotten. And I think sharing your experience with all of us here, like the reason I asked you to come is because I feel like we all would appreciate it and like we all would learn from what you have to say. So I think maybe something that people would appreciate as well is maybe describing like a day in the office, because I know I experienced it and it was honestly like really incredible to watch, and seeing everything that goes into the day-to-day life of just doing the work that you do. So
Day in the office for me has become totally, completely out of control. I have my own cases that I have to work on. I'm actually sitting here writing a reply brief in a Catholic Church sex abuse case that's due tomorrow. Actually, it's due today. I got to file it before I go home. I also have attorneys that work for me. So they're coming in here and asking questions ranging from like, where can I get lunch when I go down to a certain courthouse to, I have a guy that's flying to Miami tomorrow to depose a perpetrator in a sex abuse case. And he's represented by an attorney, and we expect that that person is just going to plead the fifth in his deposition over and over again. So we had to make sure that he was prepared to go down there and deal with all of these issues that may come up. Because if you walk into a deposition, part of being a lawyer, I guess part of being a good lawyer, I guess there's a bunch of shitty ones out there, but like part of being a good lawyer is understanding what problems will come up. Okay, and if you have some inkling that witness is just going to plead the fifth at a deposition, you have to know how to handle it in order to still maximize what the value is of that testimony. So my day is really all over the place, and then I have to go to my bosses and ask questions about certain things. So it really changes. Hold on, I have 2 questions here in the chat. I want to make sure I get to both. What has been my most rewarding experience as a trial lawyer? 2 that I'll mention. I took a huge loss in a gun case where some of the evidence was like mishandled pre-trial, some by me, some by another lawyer. I kept the jury out for a couple of days. It's a trial that I absolutely should have won. And when I lost, I was holding a pen and I threw it in the air and slapped the desk like that. And the judge told a whole bunch of people about it. And I wound up hearing about it like fourth hand. Hey, don't throw pens when you lose trials. So you don't know who was sitting behind me that saw it. I don't know. But the judge certainly, and this is a judge I like too, and she likes me, certainly told people about it. So that was a good kind of learning experience. And then on the flip side of that, I took a $1.7 million medical malpractice verdict in a very difficult county in upstate New York last year. Tough case. Client was an 80-year-old man who had bad sight in one eye. And then because of a doctor's negligence, they failed to diagnose a tumor on his other eye. And the progressive squeezing of the tumor on his optic nerve, cost him his vision entirely. The judge told us that we would never get $1 million, so that we should take whatever they offer. Our demand to settle pre-trial and during the trial was $390,000. We smoked them from one side of the courtroom to the other, from jury selection through summations and all the way around. The jury gave us 1.7, set a record in the county. At the same time, there was a big murder trial going on upstairs. We got just as much attention for what happened there as the conviction in that homicide. So, very interesting, a lot of fun. And I'm going back up there April 29th to try a very solid sex abuse case involving a kindergarten teacher and a 5-year-old. And, it's funny because now I'm starting to hear it. People know me from that verdict in a place where juries don't give a lot of money. And the only debate that jury had was, do we give them, I asked for like 3 million or something at the end of the case. I don't remember what it was. The jury wanted to give them 6 and 7 million. And then there were a couple of like more conservative folks, and they wound up compromising at 1.7. The defendants are treating us like thieves. And they're appealing it like crazy. So we'll eventually get that money for those clients with interest. So that was good. Read about that on our firm website. There's a whole bunch more information about it. And how do you mentally handle some of the more violent trials? Do you have certain things that you do to limit the impact of your life outside work? Yes. I still get threats from people that I encountered when I was a prosecutor. One guy I convicted of the most minor disorderly conduct thing you'd ever imagine, has been calling the FBI and telling them that he's going to do something to me. So every once in a while, I get a call from 2 FBI agents that, hey, he's at it again. So I limit, believe it or not, I limit the stuff that I put on social media. I limit what people can see about my family. I have 2 very young children, so I make sure to kind of limit that. And otherwise, boundaries with clients, I think, is the most important thing. Nobody gets my cell phone number unless we're going to trial. I'll answer an email when I get a chance. Try not to drink too much. And that's pretty much it. But it is important to set those boundaries and recognize you have a life outside of this. Anything else anybody's got? Somebody's raising their hand. Peyton Davis.
Yes. I know like you had a little bit of a gap between like your undergraduate degree and law school, and I know that some of us like might be wanting to take gap years and things like that. So maybe if you had like kind of any advice for anyone that's doing that.
I know you guys end at 7:30. I can stay for a little while longer if you want me to. So I don't want to screw with your meeting.
Yeah, we can go until 7:45. I just didn't know how busy you were. It seems like you
No,
have a
that's
lot.
fine. I'm stuck here late anyway, right? Finishing this brief. So 15 minutes is not going to make or break my night.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. So gap years. I think there's a big difference between somebody who works for a year or 2 in the field and then goes to law school, compared to what I did. I had like 2 totally different and irrelevant careers. I think I had a 10-year gap between when I graduated from undergrad and when I started law school. It was a tough adjustment. I was a lot older than everybody else, so they made fun of me all the time. I was not used to that. But it wound up being a great experience. There were people that had done a couple of years. My wife, for example, worked for a year and then she got a master's degree, then went to law school. So she took a couple of years in between, got a different education. I have a friend of mine who worked here at White's as a paralegal for 3 years before she was like really sure that she wanted to go to law school. And she just started in Brooklyn last fall. So she's in her 2nd semester of her 1st year. I think it kind of depends on what you do with your time. But I don't think there's really a wrong answer. Go out and work, see if you really want to do this. Some people do that. That's fine. Depends on your financial situation, right? Not everybody can just say, I'm going to go from being a student for 4 years to go and be a student for 3 years. Law school is a little different in terms of the time commitment. I think you'll find yourselves kind of not having the built-in social time that you do in undergrad. there isn't as much in terms of activities and other things that you would normally do. I worked, I was like going to school during the day and then waiting tables at night, and then I'd go home after that. And then I would work for a professor. One of my law school professors hired me as a research assistant. So I was like, I don't know, making $10 an hour doing that for him for 2-3 hours a night until the middle of the night. Then I'd go to sleep, get up and do it again. So it really depends on your situation. I wouldn't stress it. And I definitely think from what I've seen, people that work in the legal profession and have an understanding of what they're going to do afterwards helps them in two different ways. It helps them make connections so that if you need an internship or if you need a job, you at least have your foot in the door somewhere, and you know some people that can give you some guidance with that. And then also when it comes to getting other jobs, taking the bar exam, and you need to pass the character and fitness in your state, and you need somebody to write references. It's a good thing to know people that do that. So if you're going to work for a year or two, you're going to meet some people that you'll probably run into forever. Gabrielle asked me to write a letter for her. And I was more than happy to do it because I had worked with her and I can give kind of unique insight into what she has going on. Working in a law firm is not going to help you as a law student. All right. I joke all the time that the most useless people on the planet are people who just finished their first year of law school. They know enough to be dangerous, but they don't know enough to be helpful. So whenever you go and you work that summer between your first year and your second year, and you say, I want to be busy and I want to do stuff that matters and I want to do, some lawyer's just going to give you an assignment and put you at a desk. And, then they're, make sure that you show that you're useful, and having that experience kind of going into law school may help. But, it's not a make or break thing. I don't know if you guys have like a 3-and-3 program. Some schools do, where you do 3 years of undergrad and then you go right into your 3 years of law school. That's pretty cool if you can get it. But I wouldn't stress it. If you want to do it. If not, don't. Like I said at the beginning, my circumstance is not, like many other people. Somebody else had a hand up.
Sorry, it was me. I was actually also going to ask about the gap, but I thought about another question as you were
Sure.
talking. What would you say that you did in undergrad that translated to being very useful or important to know as you became a trial attorney? Like what skills?
As an undergrad,
Yeah.
I was nice to everybody that worked in the school. I was nice to the person that mopped the floor. I was nice to the person that took my money at the bookstore. I was, nice to the people that checked my fake ID. I was, I'd never look at somebody, no matter who they are, and not acknowledge that they're a human being. And I don't know what experience, that really came from. But I definitely remember doing that in undergrad. And as an attorney, especially as a trial attorney, you're going to spend a lot of time in courthouses. And courthouses don't run based on lawyers. They definitely don't run based on judges. They run based on the folks that you could very easily overlook. A court clerk that sets the schedule can take your case and just keep putting it at the bottom of the pile. The day that you get to court and that you have to be somewhere else, and you run up to the front and you act like your case is the most important case that they have to call of the 200 that are on the calendar that day. If you aren't a nice person, guess what? You're missing your second appearance. How did that translate into success as a trial lawyer? I don't know how this is in other states. I haven't looked. I'll find out soon because I have to try a wrongful death case in federal court in New Jersey coming up in a couple of months. But court officers and court clerks see it all. They see good lawyers. They see bad lawyers. They see good witnesses. A court officer who's been sitting in a trial part for years can lay a better foundation for a document that's going into evidence than you ever will, just based on seeing it. And they also get cynical. I don't know if you have any experience dealing with law enforcement people. Law enforcement people are very cynical. And the court officer, if you can convince a court officer and a stenographer and a court clerk that that the person you're prosecuting is guilty, or if the plaintiff you represent deserves to be paid, then you can convince any jury. And don't ever forget that interacting with those people during the trial matters. You know, I had that med mal trial that I told you I did up in Poughkeepsie last year. The court officer was this little guy. I mean, I'm not tall, I'm 5'8", but this guy was a little guy. And he had, you know, he had a big personality. And it's very easy in that situation to be stressed, because you're stressed, right? I'm sleeping in some dingy hotel in Poughkeepsie. Somebody tried to break into my room one night. You know, I'm eating in restaurants all the time. I'm not seeing my kids. I don't have time to play the guitar or do anything that I want to do. You know, I'm just on trial all the time. My clients are breaking my chops about, you know, how much money we're going to get and when we're going to win. I can't answer any of these questions. So I can go into court and I can let that weigh on me. But, you know, and it's easy to be. This guy was not a particularly nice guy. He was nasty to me. My co-counsel was 82 years old. He wasn't so nice to Larry. My adversary was a pretty aloof guy, somebody who appears in this courthouse a lot, and he wasn't particularly nice to the officers or the clerks. I was nice to everyone. When I had to set up my AV exhibits, they had nothing in this courtroom, I mean, in terms of tech. So I had to bring my own projector, my own screen. I had like this old school, you know, roll up projector, you know, projector screen that I had to set up. And when I got down on the floor and I was putting the extension cords down, I used duct tape to tape the cords to the floor so that nobody else that was working in that room would trip and hurt themselves. Just consider. And people noticed that. And at the end, you know, I had kind of picked up a vibe from this particular court officer that he was a real patriot. And I made this kind of comment. I always try to wrap myself up in the American flag if I think the facts of the case kind of call for it. And in this particular case, there was a plaque on the outside of the courthouse. It's a very old courthouse. Part of the when the U.S. Constitution was ratified in New York State, it was done at the original courthouse on that location. And when you're trying a personal injury or medical malpractice case, the result has to be that the jury gives your client money. There's nothing else they can do, right? You know, the wrong has already been done. You either prove your case or you don't. And if you do, that's the only thing a jury can do. So the jury has to understand that that is a fundamental right in this country. That my clients are not people who are just looking to make a quick buck, but these are folks that are asserting their constitutional right. And when I pointed out that in this building, the only thing that's above the judge was the American flag, and that the United States Constitution had been ratified on this site, it really hit home with the jurors. And at the end of it, this court officer, who was pretty shitty to us for the 2 weeks that we were there, came up and shook my hand because this resonated with him. And I said, all right, I'm glad that I said what I said because I meant it. And I think that means it got through to the jurors. And they gave us all that money in 38 minutes. And the only note that the jury sent out was, it's pretty funny. The only note that the jury sent out, the only question they had was, can we pay the plaintiff his future damages in a lump sum, or can we pay it out to him over a number of years? And we looked at the defense attorney and we said, "You ready to call the insurance company now?" And he said, "They don't want to talk with the numbers that you guys are talking about." And the judge said, "Do you guys want to settle? They're going to pay him. It's just a matter of how much. Do you want to get ahead of this?" Judge sent him outside to make a call. 3 minutes later, they came back with a verdict. And it's just really important to never forget the people that work in that courthouse, because you go upstairs, you in New York State, when you have medical records, you send a subpoena to the medical provider, whether it's a hospital or a doctor's office or whatever. And the records have a certification that allows them to go into evidence without a witness having to lay an evidentiary foundation. Bring me back for another time and I'll explain what all that means. But it's basically saves you a step, and you don't have to put another living witness on the stand in order to get these records in front of the jury. So they get subpoenaed to the courthouse. Where do they go? They go into some room that's maintained by a civil servant who's just there, from 8:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. And you're going to run up there because you never go and look at your subpoenaed records before the trial starts, right? You're trying to do it during breaks in jury selection, or, in between opening statements and when you put on your first witness, like an idiot. You can't go up there and make that their problem. You can't have your lack of preparation and your inability to organize time. Listen, in this situation, the courthouse is 2.5 hours from where I'm sitting right now. So it's not like I could have made trips back and forth up there to pull these records. If you don't have them because the clerk is at lunch or they're too busy to pull them for you, you can't make that their problem. But you can ask nicely, and that'll probably get you what you need. What else? We have time for one more.
Does anyone have a last minute question? Well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much for speaking to us tonight. Everything you have said has been so fascinating, and I know all of us have learned so much. I know you're super busy, so thank you so much for taking the time out
You're
of your day to speak with
If
us.
anybody has any questions that they think of later, just ask Gabrielle or Sydney, and they'll give you my email address, and I'm happy to answer them when I can. Okay. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
so much.
Good luck. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Don't forget to fill out the attendance, guys, if you haven't yet.
If anyone has questions about elections or platforms, feel free to reach out to me and send those into the email by April 1st, and we'll send those out in the minutes, so you'll see that information.